Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Sunday video. I'm excited to get on the charts and talk about some setups and ideas for the week ahead. If you're new to my channel, each Sunday, basically what I do is I go through a bunch of major currency pairs. We'll take a look at things like Euro USD, pound dollar. We'll take a look at gold and things like that, and we'll come up with some ideas or some concepts to possibly look for trading opportunities going into this week. Now, there's a couple things that we should think about. Now, of course, the dollar here, we're looking at the US dollar index, the DXY, has had an incredible run up in the last few days and in the last few weeks. Really, we've seen just an incredible push to the upside for the dollar. So maybe the question for the week ahead is it time for the dollar to have a healthy pullback from all that recent hype? Are we going to see some form of retracement? Or is this thing going to run into even further highs for the rest of the week? So I'll give you guys my honest take and what I plan to do about it here in this video. So stay tuned until the very end if you want to see things like the dollar, talk about gold, talk about a couple other markets. We'll get to all of that. Now, before I do get too far, we are doing our Black Friday sale, which is something we only do obviously once a year, but we do it for the entire month of November just to avoid all the confusion of people asking about the day or not. But anyways, we are doing a 40% off sale of our VIP Discord community. If you've been watching the streams or the content that I put out for a while and you've heard me mention the Discord channel that we offer, it is a service that we offer. You can see all of the trades being shared by myself and our other two analysts inside of the group. You can also join our coaching webinar. So if you have questions, if you're like, hey, I need some help about this, you can actually jump into a Zoom call with one of our head coaches. His name is Ivan. You may have seen him on some of our other content. He does webinars throughout the week. We also have our strategies in the form of a trading strategy library, which you can download exactly what I'm using as my trading strategy, as well as some of our other analysts and their strategies. You can get access to our MT4 trading tools, our MT4 Forex robot, and of course, our live 24/7 chat room all about trading. So if you have any interest in joining us, now is your chance to do so for the absolute best price that you're going to get all year. So 40% off with the code down below in the description. It's YTVIP. All you do is go to the link that is there. You punch in that code and you get 40% off of that sale price. It's a one-time fee and you're in the group for good. So with that said, there is your little tip or your little sale opportunity. I have to throw it in there because, again, it really is the best price all year. So if you've been meaning to join us, that is really the best chance to do so. So let's talk about this dollar thing. Let's go take a look at some of the individual currency pairs against the dollar. We'll take a look at the Euro USD for start. So Euro USD had this low in mind, right? We had this point here where basically this was a multi-month low, is the low of the year, in fact. And sure enough, with the recent development on the dollar, we did in fact get that break underneath that low. Pretty big deal. Honestly, that right there just tells you the nature of the dollar this year. You can see the euro has been getting beat and beat and beat. Here's the euro on the 4-hour chart. Zoomed out, you can see a consistent flow to the downside there for Euro USD. Now, so what we have to do is we actually have to mark that same area as now possible supply, meaning that if price comes back up to this area, I am very interested personally and looking for a short opportunity to go in the direction of the overall trend, which is to the downside, and at a level of significant resistance. So I like this area quite a bit. Now, what you'll notice is that that area is actually kind of far away. If we were to draw that in, that's 80 pips away, 80 to 95 to 100 pips away, just to retest that previous structure low. So I'm not in a rush to short this thing because the truth is, right, the dollar, and more specifically, the euro dollar in this case, has really made its move, it seems like. Like it's really our idea. If you've been watching the content, you know I've been shorting Aussie dollar. I've been long on the dollar quite a bit the last few months. Like the truth is the trade is past, in my opinion. Like the dollar long setups have kind of slipped out the back. Now, it doesn't mean that there won't be more dollar long setups. But for me right now, you know, the trade has played out. We've made our money, right? I closed out some of my good my profits on that good AUDUSD trade that I talked about on the stream last week on Friday, which you'll see the trade video recap soon if you want to watch that. I should come out like tomorrow or something. But like the idea here being, I think that the dollar has made a big chunk of its move. I'm not going to say that it can't keep going because, you know, Euro USD can be crazy. It could go right down to here next or this week. But I think that likely what has happened is that this move was the majority of the move that we're going to see on the dollar for the time being. This move and this move, right? That combined was a drop on the Euro USD from that move down here to, 250 pips. That's a lot of movement for the Euro USD. It doesn't usually move that much. So pretty significant. Now, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean that the dollar move is over. I honestly think that there may be opportunities if we do get a healthy retracement to find some new selling opportunities at that 50% retracement and at that previous structure. I like that quite a bit. I will keep tabs on that for sure. If price pops up to that level this week, I may be interested in looking at a short position. Now, please remember that is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to go make those trades. I'm sharing just my opinions on the markets that we are looking at today. Now, if I do take that trade, then what will happen is I will share it inside of the group. So I mentioned that, I took a short on the Aussie dollar in case you aren't familiar with what I've been talking about recently. I was short AUDUSD, closed out of it last week. It was just an insane trade. So here was the initial entry, right? Price came up to that level, and I ended up taking a short at resistance at that 50%. Very similar setup to what we're talking about here on Euro USD. So price pulled back, and I gave my highlight on that one. So I said, fundamentally, I'm still very bullish on the dollar. Inflation numbers today were quite high from the US. This could lead the Fed to continue its aggressive tightening stance on monetary policy, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to keep saying that because I feel like I've said it many times, but I've been very bullish on the dollar recently. And, technicals and fundamentals here lined up for me. I took that short and I was able to keep trailing that stop, and lower it went, and then finally closed out for a profit there on Friday. So I'm looking for more opportunities like that, but I'm not going to force my way into any trades until I get a favorable setup, which in my view could be a nice, healthy retracement to a level of structure like Euro USD here. There's also pound dollar we could take a quick look at. So we'll take a look at the pound here, see if there's anything of interest. So this one's real close to already tagging a resistance point. So perhaps we get the 38.2. Yeah, it's pretty close. So we have something like that, right? Where you have a possible retracement there. If you're very bearish on the pound dollar, then there is that possibility to look for something. There also could be a little bit more of a retracement maybe to this trend line. We could draw that in. So we'll just have to see how price starts to unfold. Usually I use market orders to actually enter my trades. And the reason I do that is because I like to take a look at the candles and take a look at the most recent data when I choose to take the trade rather than using pending orders. Pending orders are fine, but just for my preference, I like to use orders. So I might, you might see something like this, and then maybe we get some form of rejection candle, and then I'm able to actually take an entry, something like that, right? So that's the idea looking at pound dollar here going into the next week. Very similar to Euro USD, looking for structure retests and continuations of this dollar dominance. So, if things change in the dollar, by the way, you guys, one thing I should mention is, for me to really start to get bearish technically from the dollar, we are reaching the upper limits of this these peaks, right? So you're seeing a peak here, peak here, peak here, peak here, right? We could actually do this. Let me show you this cool tool. Where is it? Can I find it? There it is. So if I draw this to this, you can kind of see there is the regression channel on the dollar. So you can see, these are being the lower limits of the regression line, and of course, 2 standard deviations away from the regression line, I should say. And then, so we're sort of starting to peak out, at least in the extension to the upside. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see the dollar continue to push higher this week, but if it does, I'm not going to be rushing to take long trades up there. So we could take a look at something like dollar yen. Dollar yen is a big question mark for me here, because the thing here is we do have a big area of resistance up top, right? And we have some structure here that we sort of came up and reject on Friday. So it does look like USDJPY on the higher time frames is trying to head higher. You had that big demand rush in here, right? And then that breakout that we saw, throughout the last part of the week there on, I think that was Thursday, we had that big run up to the upside and then a little bit give back on Friday. The question now is just, if you're looking at dollar yen, can we continue that daily chart upward trend if we were to break out of here, right? So for example, maybe something like this. If we get a couple green candles this week, if that does tend to continue, if the trend is set to continue, we would see that happen, right? A break of these levels, and then possible retests could be the name of the game. So I am interested in dollar yen longs, but I'd like to see a break of this structure. To be more specific, to give you a price range, let's say about 114 to 1.145, 0.5. So those are things that I'm keeping on the back burner when it comes to dollar yen. Let's talk about the big one now. We'll take a look at XAUUSD here, talking about gold. So what can we say about gold now? I think you have to, whether you're a bull or a bear on gold, you have to admit that this recent rally is quite an impressive one. We've seen a really good run to the upside here for people who were looking at gold or going long on gold. This has been a really good time. I haven't been trading gold myself very much. I've been focused mostly on some of the dollar crosses, or dollar against other currency crosses. Now, the thing I will say about gold, this pivot off of the off of this movement here, this was huge. This was a big statement for the bulls, because breaking out of 1830, you got to think this is several months of distribution at these zones where you had big sellers, big institutional money saying, oh yeah, gold is a sell, gold is a sell. Price came up to this point now, hesitated for just a little bit. I was watching like the 1 hour candles at that time. Hesitation there, popped up and shot through. And so when that happened, what that said to all the people over here that were, using this structure, they said, oh, that's breaking out, and tons of stop losses got triggered, which is probably what causes a majority of these big moves past resistance points. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you get a big level of support or resistance, and then when it starts to break, not only does it break, but it sprints higher, right? And the reason for that, if we're thinking about it, think about it this way. You had a lot of people who may have been saying, okay, I'm going to sell the gold market here with the stop loss here. And maybe that was trade number one. And then another trader did the same thing, put a stop loss up here. Another trader put their stop loss lower. And in the end, you had this big cluster of sellers here. And then when price started to show demand, very quickly, we had people stopping out like crazy, which what happens when you stop out of a sell trade? You have to buy the trade back, right? You have to buy back. So if you're short, you have to buy back. So what that means is that you had a rush into the buying mode at this particular zone, and that caused a sprint up through that level. So when we look at this, you just have to be aware that sometimes you get those big crazy moves at resistance, and that truthfully, this is a big statement for the bulls, and I think that a reasonable place for price to maybe next go as resistance could be up to that 1900 mark. It's a big psychological level up there at 1900. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen this week. Could it happen? Sure. Gold is kind of insane sometimes. But what I do think is very possible as well is you could get a healthy retracement, something like this. And if that does happen, that very well may be a great opportunity to look for possible long setups in favor of the overall move there on XAU USD. Now, of course, please remember that's not me telling you to take that trade and to go gamble your account or anything like that. Nothing like that. Gold is very dangerous, especially to traders who have a small account size. So please be careful with gold. But if it does retest this area, what was resistance could very well act as support. And if that happens, I may be looking at it myself even. So I'll keep tabs on it. It's not my favorite trade right now. There are some things, like I said, I've been just trading the dollar like crazy recently and having a lot of success with that for the time being. So if I take a trade, you'll see it inside of the group if you're a Discord member. And again, remember that the link is down below in the description for that, should you like to see the trades that I am taking and why. More importantly, why, right? I'm not really a big fan of just like signal services and like, oh, copy my trades and you'll be rich. Nothing like that. That's not what we're here to sell. What we offer is a platform basically for traders to come together and to learn from more experienced traders. Ryan, who is one of our traders, he's an FTMO funded trader. He has a 200K FTMO funded account, which is a really, really big accomplishment. So stuff like that. So if you'd like to learn from people like that, if you'd like to watch along with what they're doing and why, that is the place to be. So again, the Black Friday sale, 40% off. That's the biggest sale that we do all year. All those things that you see on the screen included. So check it out. Link down below in the description. Come join us. It should be a good time, especially this week. We've got lots of stuff happening in the gold market and the dollar market. Things are really moving. So We'll take a couple looks, a couple more currency pairs here to take a look at quickly. Here's pound yen. Pound yen really giving us that pullback and now tagging that 61.8% retracement on the daily chart. I have talked about this level. I think this very well could be an interesting area to hold. I mean, that's a pretty good haircut from its recent move up from 158.23 down to 152. So, or 152.5. That's a big drop, right? That right there, you guys, is a move of 500, believe it or not, 566 pips in just a few weeks there. Very quick drop for the pound yen. And honestly, the overall very long-term trend still seems to be to the upside, but we are retesting structure. Oh, look, it even tags that 100 moving average, 100-day moving average. That's a big deal. So yeah, keep an eye on the pound yen. You know, if that thing were to rally, even just to try and make new highs again in favor of the overall trend, if that were to be the bottom area, you know, you're talking about a significant move. So might be one of those to think about for the longer term swing traders out there on pound yen. Kind of like it myself, even. Euro GBP, I do want to take a look at this one as well. This one continues to trend lower. You can draw a real quick regression line on this and check this out. You got a very clean downward channel and price just tagging the upper limits of that zone and now finding a bit of resistance there. So we will keep tabs on this. By the way, you guys, I should have a video coming out soon on this regression line tool that TradingView has. It's a regression trend. It's really cool. It's actually like really useful. I've been playing around with it recently. So stay tuned for the video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so that you can see the upcoming videos. And if you want to see that video in particular, you can hit the notification bell, and that way you'll get notified when that video drops. So yeah, let's take a look at one more. AUDUSD, got to put some respect on the Aussie dollar here. This past week, it really was a fantastic trade for me. I wish every trade was this good. But I ended up shorting, I kid you not, like right here and covering like right here. So it was a great trade, which, you know, that doesn't look like that much on the 4-hour chart, but when you're looking at that on the 1-hour chart, you're talking about a pretty significant move. Price spiked up and immediately dropped into my favor, ran all the way down. I was able to trail that stop loss and ended up closing that profit out somewhere around here. So for really good little move. And again, that was one of the trades that I shared inside of the Discord. So you know, you could see it just dropped and dropped. So kind of a crazy mover there last week. So guys, that's all I've got for this week's video. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below. I appreciate you watching as always. And with that said, we will see you back.